Hello from the Advanced Swimming Performance Podcast, sponsored by Commit Swimming, the smartest workout log. Just type a set and Commit instantly calculates the data for you. To learn more, visit commitswimming.com. We highly recommend it. My name is Jenny Brosina, and I am representing Aqueous. I'm here with Dr. John Mullen from Swimming Science, and as always, we are your hosts. So I'm still held up in a hotel room, and John is in the same clothes he's in every single day. So you have him on screen and me on audio. How are you, John?
I'm good. Hey, I like to simplify my life. So, 5 shirts, 5 pairs of pants, 5 pairs of underwear, 5 pairs of socks. So you're often going to be seeing me in very similar attire.
Well, you're a good man for having 5 different pairs of underwear.
Hey, well, I appreciate it. I had a patient earlier today tell me when he was in college, he had a roommate tell him that, he was worried about his underwear situation. He said, the good thing about underwear is you have an A side and then you have a B side.
Oh,
so
gosh.
If you stretch it out, I'm sure some of the college coaches can relate to that with some of their swimmers.
Oh, absolutely. Well, and let me tell you this. So I'm in a different hotel, but I'm still like in the hotel lifestyle here. And I was so excited because I chose this hotel based on the fact that it had a pool. Right. And I'm visiting one of our healthcare clients, and I was thinking, okay, go to the site, go to the clinic during the day, come home, enjoy the pool. And I'm a little bit of a wuss. I feel like I've put my time into jumping into the whole cold water of a pool thing. And I'm thinking that the nice luxury hotel pool, it's going to be a little warm. I'm going to enjoy my time. And I hop in, freezing. Absolutely freezing.
What? Come on now.
And no hot tub.
How cold was it?
It was too cold. And I couldn't find anyone. I could not find anyone.
Degrees or some nonsense like.
I'm delicate.
Yeah, come out here to the Pacific, then we'll get in. I did Lake Trans Tahoe Relay last year. Now that was pretty chilly. We were maybe 63 degrees, no wetsuit.
Well, like I said, I'm delicate.
Apparently. Well, luckily for you, I have a nice little friend here.
Yes, what do we have?
What do we have here? This was a gift from a patient from India.
Oh, I love patient gifts.
Keychain. And I don't really know what it is. It's a guy with a red hat, yellow head, green bobbin. Chris, do you have this guy still? Uh-oh.
Oh, is Chris making an appearance?
Chris, you going to make your first appearance on the podcast? Oh, there he is. Your guy. Wow. You got a different guy. Oh, wow. She didn't like you. Mine's way better. So these are our little doodads that we got from a very kind patient from India. And luckily, these guys keep us very warm here in California, unlike you and your frigid water.
Oh, gosh. You know what? I might just have to go and steal a couple shampoos or something so that I have a fun gift to show.
Hey, well, one of these days you will. Don't worry about it. But anyways, we need to start talking about, kinematics and educating, the introductions of kinematics and how it is important for coaching. So I'm going to go ahead and throw you a nice lob shot and ask you,
boy.
Could you explain in very simple terms, like you're speaking to a 6-year-old, what kinematics are and perhaps why they are important for swimming?
Oh, 6-year-old. All right, here we go. So we have 2 words. All right, when we're talking about human movement, we have the one word called kinetics, and then we have kinematics. So kinetics are when we are discussing movement about a joint. And that's pretty much it. We have a bunch of physics that goes into it, but ultimately we are talking about movement at a joint. When we're talking about kinematics, that's when we're discussing muscles, muscular relationships, and the forces happening inside the body. So when we're discussing kinematics for coaches, we have a great piece of research. Let me go ahead and pull this up here. We have a few kinematic parameters that I think all of our coaches across the house can relate to. Stroke frequency of the arms and what's going on at the muscular level of stroke frequency. Velocity and acceleration, those are all words that we know. Angle of attack and flow relative to the hand, also conversations we have on a regular basis. So kinematics are actually a huge part of our daily process. When we're working with athletes, it just sounds really scary. So is that a good representation of it?
Nailed it. No, I think you're right. And I think, a lot of coaches maybe aren't familiar with that term themselves, but it's certainly one that they are very familiar with. They may not have the exact lingo that, clinicians or researchers are using, but it's certainly something that they are familiar with, especially if they are working on biomechanics and stroke technique.
Yeah, so specifically, let's chat about tethered swimming and
Hmm.
kinematics. So where are you at with tethered swimming? Not in the freezing cold hotel pool that I currently have. I would not do tethered swimming there, for the record.
Yeah, I definitely don't recommend that. You got to make sure you're nice and warm.
Yeah, exactly.
In college, I like to pretend I was a sprinter, so I used to, swim in the deep end where it was much warmer for the divers.
There you go.
But as far as tethered swimming goes, it's an interesting topic. Obviously, there's a few different ways to be going about doing some tethered swimming. So I think it's something that can be used. It's just how can a coach actually apply it? That's the big question, and something that we talked about on the first podcast with the swimming tech. How is it something that can be used and integrated easily for the most common coaches? And I think with tethered swimming, if you are going to be using it for trying to get kinematic data and information, that's where it's going to be a little bit tricky. What are
Mm-hmm.
your thoughts on it for just the everyday coach and maybe for clinicians and researchers?
I've seen, and again, this is my personal experience with coaches using tethered swimming. I've seen it go really well.
Mm-hmm.
I've seen it become a competition unto itself, and it's been at the sacrifice of stroke technique.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's kind of where we walk the line, and like you and I have talked about at length in the past, it's why are we doing what we're doing?
Mm-hmm.
And if we actually have, if the purpose of the data collection is to do research or it is to create an individualized movement plan like we do with some of our athletes with Aqueous, or is it, to create a coaching seminar for education, then I'm all about having the appropriate team there to help get the data and help make sure that stroke techniques are still going well. But I could kind of take it or leave it. I'm a little bit middle of the road, but I have seen internal competition on the team take precedence over having it be quality data.
Yeah, I can certainly see that, especially once you
Yeah.
start getting in a college or a more advanced environment where everything is turning into a competition. And hey, there's benefit to
Sure.
the competition and help motivate one another and things like that. But if we are using it for data and those things, we have to make sure that we are trying to control it as best as possible, which gets a little bit tricky. So how do you think people can control it and try and prevent that internal or external competition with other people?
Well, I think putting a few parameters on it and focusing both the coaches and the athletes as to why we're doing what we're doing is going to
Mm-hmm.
be the big thing there. So we know that we can get some actual measurable numerical data from this, right? What do we do with that data, and how can we guide our athletes to be focused around that? So some of the research that we're pulling these topics from, we can take a look at the mean of peak tether force during 10 arm strokes. Okay, that's a quote right from a piece of data or right from a piece of research. And what we're looking for there is the average force over 10 strokes. So we have a definite beginning, we have a definite end, and a definite period we're looking at. It is not just because it's Monday, we're going to be spending 20 minutes on tethered swimming because it's
Mm-hmm.
Monday. I have found that that's the most beneficial way to use this particular tool.
Yeah,
What do you
I
think?
think that is probably the best way you can do it. Personally, I still see coaches struggling with this a lot. It's just, okay, you can get the mean of the 10 tethered strokes like you. We'll just stick with that same variable. But I think a lot of coaches will be thinking they can get similar data just from, okay, what's their stroke length or what's their stroke count per
Yeah.
lap and things like that. And they assume or feel that they are getting similar or comparable data, which with much easier ways and something that they're much more familiar with.
Yeah, and I think anytime we talk about data, I want to talk about our friends over at Commit Swimming. So you should go and check out Commit Swimming. It's a smart workout log that uses an algorithm to calculate workout data based on what you wrote. It's truly incredible and fun to see in action. Just type out swim sets, and Commit intelligently calculates how much kick versus pull versus swim you're doing. Visit commitswimming.com. So I think tethered swimming, for those of us, or for those of you that are listening, we have a brief outline of what we try to cover and how we try to cover it. Why the industry should care. Why should our coaching staff and our rehab people and our performance people care about tethered swimming. One, it is an awesome tool for data collection. It is an awesome tool to be measuring those kinematic parameters. Do we need to be measuring kinematics as a part of every single practice? I'm going to go with no. But is it an awesome tool to have available? Yes. Yeah,
I'm in agreement with you there. I think it is a great tool and something in the research we can get a lot of information on and hopefully learn some things from the kinematics and tethered swimming that maybe we in the swimming community or some coaches once thought that can be corrected on, because we are highly inefficient in the pool still as humans. So hopefully this can help educate us more and more. But on the everyday use, I'm really not seeing it. I think there's simpler ways out there right now for the coaches that they're going to stick with that provide, great information as well. I think there's a lot of other things they can be doing, like we talked about in the last one, video analysis that isn't integrated frequently enough that can provide similar and probably almost better information for help correcting technique. I mean, if you tell a kid, oh yeah, your 10-stroke mean force production was blah, 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 they're all go right over their heads, not going to mean crap to them. So it's trying to take that data, that information, make it user-friendly to the coach, make it user-friendly for the swimmer, and something that they can take and actually implement for their training to become faster, because that's what these coaches care about, what's going to get the kids faster. And this information could be a helpful process for it, but right now it's just not, I think, easy enough and understandable and simplified enough on the everyday use for the coaches.
Yeah, and I couldn't agree more. Anytime that we are discussing all of this, the entire field of movement science, it's an incredible field full of tools that are assisting in getting to that end result, which is, how is the athlete performing? Are they performing better? Are they having a better experience as an athlete? And that's what we're all trying to achieve. An interesting topic, a kind of subtopic, is the concept of dynamic data. And what does that really look like? Like, what are we trying to measure? What do we get excited about measuring? And in terms of kinematics and tethered swimming specifically, we're talking about force production. And, currently it's a valid way for us to get that measurements. But also within kinematics, there are plenty of other variables and different types of data that we can look at. So is there another one that you can pull off the top of your head, right? Because I'm putting it on the spot. Is there something else that you can think about, another piece of information that you would consider to be good dynamic data that you'd be interested in hearing about a swimmer?
From tethered swimming?
No, just in general, dynamic data.
Oh, dynamic data. Man, you are putting me on the spot. I got nothing off the top of my head. What are you thinking?
I want to know about body roll. I want to know about body roll. I want to know about positioning, and I want to use that as a foundation for a variety of other things that we start to look at. How about that?
No, I think that's true. I mean, knowing how much an athlete's body rolling could be providing a lot of important info for the coach as well, and can give them cues about, stroke length, areas maybe they can improve, maybe how much stress they're putting on their shoulders and those items as well.
Yeah, I agree. So how do you think, if you have an athlete, so you're a physical therapist, if you have an athlete come to you and say, I got injured while we were doing a bunch of tethered swimming at practice, what's the first thing that you start to ask about their experience with tethered swimming? Like, do you start to talk about whether or not they were still maintaining their proper stroke? Were you talking about what was going through their brain while they were thinking about, like, how do you approach that situation?
Well, in all honesty, we probably wouldn't talk much about tethered swimming.
Well, there you go.
Right away. I mean, we'd be talking about their stroke. We'd be talking about where they're having pain. First, removing that pain, getting them pain-free on land, because if they're not pain-free on land, they're likely not pain-free in the water. And then we'd be talking about their swimming biomechanics, and then we'd be talking about training and maybe how often they're using tethered swimming, how often or how intense they're using with it. So it really depends on, I guess we will bring it up a little bit if it is part of their training regimen, because that's an important piece of information as a rehab specialist. What is their training like? How intense is it? What type of the season are they in? And if tethered swimming is part of it, I need to know that info, because if that is something they're using a lot, I want to get them back to it, because I want them to be able to do what their whole team's doing. If they're not participating, they're going to be not having fun and, looking for another sport in a couple of years. And that's not what we want at all. So that's why I think it may come up in that situation.
Fair. All very good. All right, there you go, guys. You now know kinetics versus kinematics and where we currently stand with tethered swimming. Thanks, John.
Sure thing. Take care.
Bye.